If you really want to know what someone's thinking, take a look at their body language. You can learn so much about a person's innermost thoughts and feelings just from the way they stand or smile. You'll be analyzing everybody's sitting positions once you've discovered the hidden meanings behind the postures. If this is your first time visiting our channel, make sure you subscribe. And while you're at it, check out our latest addition to the family, The Trendy, a cool channel for teenagers. Today, we're sharing 10 things body language says about you. Foot angle. The direction your body points toward says a lot about your feelings in that moment, in particular, the position of your feet. That's because foot pointing starts before body orientation, and we don't even know we're doing it. When we're chatting with other people, we tend to look at their faces. But cast your eyes downwards to the ground, and you'll discover what that person is thinking about, or rather, whom they're thinking about. The direction of a person's lead foot, which is usually the right foot, reveals the actual direction they want to follow, and that usually means the person that they want to approach. Unless their feet are pointing at the door, then they probably want to get out of there stat. Check this out the next time you're talking in a small group. Take a look at the floor and notice the angle of everyone's feet. Are they pointing towards the person they're looking at or towards someone else in the group? We do this subconsciously, and it's a really good indicator of someone's true feelings. That's because the further a body part is from the brain, the less aware we are of its movements. This is a useful technique to use in a romantic situation. If you're trying to figure out if a guy or girl is interested in you, slip a casual glance at their feet. Standing position. Just like the position of your feet says a lot about you, so too do your legs, specifically the way you stand. Psychologist Carol Kinsey Goman has explained the meanings behind different standing postures. She published her body language findings in her book, The Nonverbal Advantage, and she recommends that leaders use their physical posture to assert their confidence. For example, when you stand with your legs and feet shoulder-width apart, you give off an air of determination and dominance. This is a powerful position to adopt when you're putting forward your point of view in a discussion. Add to this the Superman or Wonder Woman pose with your hands on your hips, and you'll actually elevate your testosterone levels. Or rest your thumbs in your belt loops for that commanding cowboy pose seen in old Western movies. In contrast, if you stand with your legs together, you're showing deference. Obedient children often stand like this, with their feet together and legs straight. When you transfer your weight from foot to foot or rock backward and forwards, you might be feeling upset, confused, or anxious. Your mind might be moving between unsettling thoughts, and your shifting legs reflect this. And finally, if you want to welcome someone to join a conversation you're in the middle of, turn your body 45 degrees from the person you're talking with. That opening of posture acts as a nonverbal invitation to the new person to join you. Lips. We often look at each other's mouths when we're talking, but do you know how to interpret all those little lip movements to learn more about that person? As a former FBI counterintelligence agent, Joe Navarro knows a thing or two about reading body language and nonverbal communication, and he shared his insights in his books, What Everybody is Saying and Clues to Deceit. Navarro points to the lips as key parts of the body that convey a lot of information. They are controlled by the limbic system, and so their behaviors are universal. When we're stressed, we compress our lips to the point where they can actually disappear completely. This is an instinctive motion that we're probably not even aware of, but it's a typical psychological response to bad news. We also bite our lips as a way of relieving tension when we're distressed. We might also lick or suck our lips in a subconscious attempt to soothe or comfort ourselves. Our lips often go dry in scenarios when we're experiencing discomfort. These behaviors might then indicate a lie if they happen during an investigation where the person being questioned is feeling tense about the situation. Of course, lips can also express the opposite with a smile, but not all smiles are equal. Smile. The lips can express happiness with a smile, but you need to look at more than just the mouth to tell if someone's smile is actually genuine. Psychology professor Adrian Fernman has written about the nuances of various types of smiles. One of the most fundamental distinctions psychologists make is the difference between a genuine smile versus a fake smile. You can spot a false smile by watching the eyes. They will remain unmoving, whereas with a real smile, they'll crease up and the eyebrows will move too. That's because there's a psychological difference between these types of smiles, and it's down to the muscles that are involved. The eye muscles aren't involved in a false smile, and it tends to only be the lower face that moves. There are 3 more things you can look out for when trying to detect a counterfeit smile. First is the duration. False smiles tend to last longer. Next is the assembly. The eyes and mouth can be put together in fake smiles, but this happens very quickly, and the joining of these 2 parts of the face is taken apart more quickly than in a real smile. And last but not least, there's symmetry. A smile is likely to be false if it appears on one side of the face more than the other. This is actually on the right-hand side, so now you know how to spot a fake smile. Eyes. We've discovered the importance of the eyes in detecting a genuine smile, but the windows to the soul can reveal so much more about us too. Let's learn how the direction of your eyes can say a lot about you. It's generally believed that we look to our left when we're reminiscing or trying to remember something. If we look to our right, we're probably having more creative thoughts. This can be interpreted as a sign that someone is lying because they might be creating a false version of events. It's worth bearing in mind that these directions might be reversed in a left-handed person. That's because of the dominance of different sides of the brain. Looking up can also indicate deception, dismissal, or boredom. When we look down, it might signal an unconscious request for support. People might lower their gaze in search of empathy. This is often seen in young children, and it typically elicits a response from the parents. The late Princess Diana often employed it as well. So how about blinking? The normal blink rate is 6 to 10 times a minute. If you blink more often than this, it can indicate that you're feeling stressed. It can also be seen as flirtatious too, as can darting glances. A back-and-forth gaze is often used as a protective measure when trying to figure out if the other person is interested or not. Head movements. Subconscious body language can reveal a lot about us, and once you know how different nonverbal cues can make you appear to others, you can actually start deliberately doing them for a particular effect. For example, you can use the position of your head to show your interest when talking with someone. This can help build rapport and a positive feeling between you. First off, let's look at head tilting. If your friend is telling you a sad story or revealing their innermost thoughts, tilt your head to the side. This position indicates that you're listening and interested in what they're saying. It also shows that you're literally angling your ear towards them, proving that you want to hear all the details. You can see this happen naturally in the animal kingdom. Certain creatures will tilt their heads when they hear an unusual sound. The other tactic you can employ is to nod your head. Do this in clusters of 3 to show how interested you are. The psychologist Goman claims that this can actually lead to change in the behavior of a person you're listening to. They might lengthen their response threefold, in line with your 3 nods. On the other hand, nod just once if you want to cut the conversation short. Will you try out this technique the next time you want to escape an overly chatty person? Arms. Our body language can have a big effect on our career prospects. There are certain types of nonverbal communications that can give off a bad vibe in the office. Although they're best avoided, they don't actually always mean what we think they do. Take crossing your arms, for example. President of the Body Language Institute, Janine Driver, revealed that it's one of the biggest myths that crossed arms equal a defensive person. It's perceived that way, but in actual fact, when you cross your arms, you're using both sides of your brain. And being in this puzzle-solving mode is actually really useful when brainstorming. Cross your arms, and you'll use both the creative and numbers-driven parts of the brain. Research shows that you're 30% more likely to stay on a difficult task with crossed arms. But as it's perceived as being closed off rather than being determined, you might want to limit the amount you do it around colleagues. The same goes for big arm and hand gestures. If you're a hand talker, try to keep those gestures within the frame of your body and match them to the point you're making. Research shows that those who gesticulate appear agreeable, energetic, but only if they do it in moderation. Overly animated gestures might make you seem unbelievable and less powerful. Help quell yours by holding something while you talk. Hands. Body language coach Nicholas Fredette points out that when you communicate, your brain automatically involves your hands, and you don't even realize that they are conveying your feelings and thoughts. So what can we learn from the position of the hands? If you see someone steepling, they're showing self-assurance and confidence. Steepling is when the palms face each other with just the fingertips touching. You've probably seen powerful people like lawyers or presidents adopt this pose. The chopping movement is another sign of authority. As for clenched fists, this indicates firmness of resolve. If the thumbs are tucked in, that can signify anxiety and an attempt to harden oneself. Clenched fists are a more extreme version of palms facing down. This pose shows confidence and can denote defiance when accompanied by straight fingers. In contrast, when your palms face upwards, you're showing a positive position. It's useful when trying to make amends. Combine it with outstretched arms and it gives off a trustworthy vibe of openness. If you see someone place their hand over their heart when saying something, this means they really want you to believe them. It's like a literal presentation of the hand on heart promise. Finally, there are self-pacifying gestures of clasping or squeezing your hands together. Typically, this is done when there are feelings of discomfort, nerves, or even fear. You can assume the person is feeling very frustrated or anxious if they clasp their hands and interweave their fingers. Fidgeting. You've probably noticed somebody fidgeting recently. Perhaps you're aware of your own fidgeting too. It can be viewed as a calming technique. As we've seen, playing with your hands can be a self-soothing move. So can hugging your sides, rubbing your legs, or massaging your forehead and earlobes. Stroking these nerve endings can counter feelings of vulnerability because the action helps to lower blood pressure and heart rate. If you see someone jiggling their feet up and down or sliding them in and out of their shoes, chances are they're feeling uncomfortable. And these movements are an attempt to relieve tension. The thing is, we usually aren't even aware that we're doing it. For some of us, our bodies deal with pressure or stress by becoming more physically active, but in a contained way. We might not be able to pace up and down a room, but we can tap our heels instead. This is our body's way of responding to adrenaline and the fight or flight response that it elicits. If you're in a situation where you notice that you're fidgeting and you want to stop, try crossing your ankles to calm your feet, or doing 10-toe push-ups to get the energy out in secret, or placing your hands in your lap to avoid playing with your cuticles. Otherwise, this type of body language might be considered a sign of timidity and low confidence. Sitting position. If you thought that the way you sit says very little about you, then think again. Psychologists and body language experts have analyzed sitting positions and come up with a whole raft of explanations for what each posture reveals. Firstly, there's the sitting position where the knees and toes point inwards. If your toes are facing each other, it could indicate that you feel insecure or awkward and are therefore closing yourself off. As for the classic cross-leg pose, it can also denote insecurity or perhaps mean you're creative. You'll want to pay close attention to the direction in which you cross your legs too. As we've seen before, the position of your feet point shows the person you think is most approachable. If you lift your toes, it means you feel more positive towards that person. Lucky them! Thirdly, there's the knees pointing outwards pose. This open position suggests you're relaxed and comfortable. Those who sit cross-legged on the floor also give off carefree vibes, with their physicality open posture mirroring their open attitude. Then there's the straight leg posture, which shows confidence, strength, and reliability. Leaning your knees to the side can indicate a caring personality and can even be perceived as flirtatious if they're pointing towards someone you're interested in. And so, we're right back to where we started, and how the direction your legs face says so much about you. Which of these have you noticed yourself doing recently? Let us know in comments, and please give this video a big thumbs up. Thanks for watching.